My friend, my name is Wago. Today, we are going to demystify the ukulele. So, if you have your ukulele, first things first, let's tune it up. Ukuleles have a series of 4 strings. What happens is we have a high G string. Some ukuleles have a low G string. Those low G strings have a tendency to go out of tune. Therefore, sailors and people who would take the instrument of the ukulele across the seas would often have the strings that were made out of binding skin and intestines by rosining them, braiding them like hair, pulling them tight, putting a lot of pressure on it and whittling it down so it was a fine string. When you hang them out in the sun, they turn a little bit golden, and then when you string them tightly, you could play an ukulele. Those were the first strings. They were called gut strings. They are still done today, but they're very rare. The reason why we have the high G on the ukulele is for that exact purpose. The next string on the ukulele is going to be the C string. Now, this isn't just any C. This is middle C, C4. So for those of you who play the piano, this one is going to be directly in the middle. Our next note is going to be up a third to an E. So when we play those two, the C and the E string, you should be tuning right now if you're playing along, by the way, make a major third. Now, all these terms, they don't make a lot of sense in the beginning, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the board in a little bit and show a couple basic chords like the G major, C major, F major, and the A minor. Get you well on your way. But for this concept in this video, we're going to demystify what all this is. So on mine, I've got a bridge and a saddle. The thing that affixes itself to the actual body is called the bridge. The saddle is the little piece of bone, nougat. You can have wood. I've seen ebony, many ivories. I don't know if I've ever seen a marble, but that would actually be kind of interesting. Wonder how it would resonate. Anyway, the top of the strings go over the tippy top of that. When you tie a string down here, you do a certain mechanism where, of course, you affix it to the tuners, whether you have a slotted headstock or not. The tuners take the string, give yourself a little bit of slack, and then when you pull it down here, you pull it out about this far. You're going to make 2 loops around themselves, and it kind of looks like a tie going twice. And then you circle back and leave a little bit of nub off of here. So when you do tighten, they tighten on themselves. And then the little string goes that way so it doesn't stick out and scrape you while you're playing. They're just little tips and secrets. If you need to, you can check out one of the videos on this channel or just Google how to tune and string an ukulele. So after we see the saddle and the bridge, these strings for them, now they're this, they're like a, what are they, polystyrene probably? No, that's cups. They're a plastic of some sort. A lot of these synthetic ones for the new ones don't vibrate as well, therefore they last longer, but they just don't have a nice earthy tone. But that's up to you to find out what strings you want. When we get past here, we're going all the way up the fretboard. Now the fretboard itself has metal frettings, means you don't really want to play on the metal on any of these. You want to play in between, because as you can see, when you press down the notes, they go in between those 2 metal frettings. The idea is, on a standard ukulele, you at least have 12 frets, meaning you could go from the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and then you'll have an octave. On some ukuleles, it'll go up another octave with the fretboard all the way up here. However, it's not really needed to do that because the ukulele is already a high timbre or a high-pitched instrument to begin with. Going past the fretboard, this that we're sliding on here is just going to be going up towards the neck. The neck, of course, has a heel right here. So on most ukuleles, you've got this little lip here. I always think like the heel of the foot. I've got a little strap lock there too as well. The back here, and then the sides, and then the top. Generally, when you have a nicer ukulele, you have a solid top, solid sides, and solid back, which means it's not pressed together. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just some have inferior sides that have like a particle board pressed together, which is no bueno. Those will deteriorate after a while in the elements. A solid wood top with laminate is my favorite, although it does get a couple of fingerprints. And then if you get without the laminate, a satin finish is quite nice. You don't have to wipe it off with a cloth. Tuning pegs are important. I like mine that goes out the back here rather than popping out the side. There really isn't a difference. I just think that the slotted headstock looks gorgeous here. This particular unit was designed by a maker here on island. I've got a couple different ones. The idea is I like ones that are plugged in so I can go and play out. This one doesn't have an amplification. Yes, I can take this off and put it under the saddle bridge here, or under the bridge and saddle Pizio. And they're by Fishman right around 180, I think, still. So you can make any acoustic instrument an electric instrument, and then they would go to a professional. They cut a hole here to fit in the body, and then they put it and they mount it in there. If you're doing it yourself, I would suggest doing it on the bottom where it's away from anything. There's nothing in here except for the scallop bracing, about a thumbnail in. So stay away from the scallop bracing and make sure you get something which has a little pattern you put on there to drill the holes, then cut out. If you're doing it yourself, but I would say go pay a professional. All right, so what we do when we're playing these chords, sometimes we play downwards with our thumb, sometimes we do our first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. The hardest part on the hand is the fingernail. Therefore, doing a downward stroke is the best way to get the loudest sound out of it. If you play over the sound hole, of course, it's gonna be louder. Downward strokes are the foundation of almost all Western music. Believe it or not, on the other side of the world, the Eastern world, upstrokes are the foundation of the music. For the ukulele, this is a movable item. 200 years ago, moving through the seas, through Polynesia, all the different islands, made its way to Hawaii. Hawaii has one of the most popular ukulele arrangements, composers. Basically, it is synonymous with Hawaii, the ukulele. Not that it's not in other places of the world. And it's actually growing in places like Germany and Oregon. So if you are from those places, say hi, howdy do in the comment section today. Other than that, ukulele itself, the way that I teach it is this. I teach any instrument that has strings on it to utilize our first finger, our second finger, our third finger, and our fourth finger. When going through these notes, I try and keep my fingers on the string while plucking, and then every time that I pluck, I'm plucking with my first finger. And you'll notice that my thumb followed my first finger, and it muted the string that was right before it. So now we're gonna go to the last string, or the furthest away from your nose. And when I go all the way back to the string closest to my face, the G string, I'm gonna do the same thing. Notice how my hand on my plucking hand is floating. When I move to this next one, my thumb falls like a bird right on a wire. Yeah, this is the mechanism I like to call spider exercises with the small children that, you know, just learning ukulele, or I go spider exercises. It's kind of fun. The other exercise is called a teeter-totter. We're going to get to that in a minute, but here's the idea. Teeter-totter, seesaw. If you don't know what those two are, I don't know if they're just American exclusive. I think they're probably everywhere in the world. However, who knows? As far as like the concept, it would be a pivot point, a mass, and then a weight disproportion in a fulcrum. Think a scale. Hands of justice too. Also, maybe an American thing. Who knows? As far as the chords we play, one observation is some chords are played with 3 fingers. Another observation is some chords are just played with 1. Now, when doing those aforementioned Spidey exercises, it makes sense to kind of play your third finger on your 3rd fret. When we do this, we press down hard and we play this kind of pointy note. There are notes where we play flatly, but what I would say is pointy note is really where it's at when getting to know this. The reason why is if you could play your spider exercises going over the top and they're pointy, the concept is you don't let the back fat of the finger mute the string right above or below it if you're not dead center and pointy like an arrow into the fretboard. I hope that makes sense. If you do, you're developing a process by where you're muting a note, which is great if you're intending to do it. But if you're not intending to do it, you would be playing something like maybe a B flat major and getting all those notes, and then you would have one note that's accidentally muted because the back fat of this finger was hitting it. Wah, wah, wah. So, the way that I teach students from the spider exercises, which are the individual finger notations, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are about doing the smallest distance in the Western ear. It's called a half step, semitone. It is a minor second. It goes from one note directly up half increment. That means that the wavelength that you're hearing fluctuates ever so higher and flies a little bit faster. Our dynamics are changed when we play these on different strings because each string has a different resonating factor. So when we play just our G, our C, our E, and then our A, we get 4 distinct tones. Now anybody who does play a little ukulele and is watching this or plays an instrument at all knows that all chords are devised of 7 notes. Those 7 notes happen to be boom, 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 yeah. Those 7 notes just happen to be laid out here on this board. When we play C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, we are exhibiting all 7 notes in one key. That key is called C major. There are no sharps and flats, but the actual alphabet quite truly is just C, D, E, F, and G. Let's see here. Is that backwards? It is backwards. I do apologize. Let's see if I could switch that. There we go. We're not going to be using that thing. So, concept here is we're going to be throwing this out here for the C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. There are only 7 notes inside of our system of notes. So the first note that we have happens to have a third. So when we hear about somebody saying, oh, what is a chord? We're talking about 3 notes out of a possible 7. When we line them up, make our chords. C, E, G. Cool. Well, what's the next one if we use that same principle? The next note would be a D. So we write it as such. D, F, A. When we see this as being a mechanism of just moving our hand over or just viewing these as 3, we have to kind of remember when we go past the B, it goes right back to our C. This happens to be the key of C. I'm going to explain this in the key of G as well so you get a little bit more ideas when you're also playing around. Our next chord, E, G, and B. After that, we have F, A, and as we just said, you got to remember to go to the C there. F, A, C, G, B, and then skip the C and go to D. You betcha. So we've got a G, B, D. Next chord is an A, C, E. Fun thing about doing it this way, it allows us and our brain to kind of like use our imaginations to imagine what the notes would be continuing on the number line. So if we played them on a piano, it would be vertical. Same thing with our fretboard. When we play the one note or the one chord, we have a major note or a major chord. When we move from our 1 chord towards our 5 chord, the 1, 4, and 5 are going to be major chords, meaning all of the notes for C, E, and G, F, A, and C, and G, B, and D from this scale make it sound like it's a happy, joyous chord. It has no real weird dissonance or built tension because the notes that we're choosing are proportionate to each other. So all those notes, E to G, it's called a major third because it's called a consonant. Those 2 notes are very pleasing, opposed to like a C and then the note that comes between C and D, C sharp. So the concept about playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the reason why we call these diatonic scales is each relationship from the 1 and the 3 is a dyad. C to E, that's called a major third because the sound that it makes is pleasing. C and E, major. When you play a C note and then you play an E flat, you get a minor. Hear how that is like quite a little bit like a level of sadness, melancholiness. I don't really like to prefer to name things like sad or happy. However, it's a great idea to associate the major third with being all the chords that are kind of happy. And then if you see that the D, E, and A are part of the 2, the 3, and the 6, that means that the chords of D minor is not D major because there is no F sharp. When you know that an E, G, and a B make up a E minor, it's not an E major because it's not half inch Noyes. It has a kind of sad, melancholy sound to it. So the idea behind this is how do you play these and what does that mean for the key of C major? Well, when we play C major, my markers are yelling. They're like, help me, help me. This first chord, when we draw it out on a diagram, it allows us to see that G is our lowest note, or our highest note. C is our biggest note. E comes next, and A. Why? These are the notes of our strings. G, C, E, A. So when we move this A note past an A sharp or a B flat, because in between A and B, you have a letter. Diatonic scales also have relationships to something called chromatic scales. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, B sharp. So if you could see all those right now, we're quite literally going from C all the way up here, C sharp. The distance between a C and a C sharp is called a minor second. The distance between a C and a D is called a major second. Between C and a D sharp is called a minor third. Between C and an E is a major third. Between here and there is called a perfect fourth. Between C and F sharp, it's called an augmented fourth or a flat 5 or a diminished 5. Between C and G, yeah buddy, there's another one of our perfect unions. Perfect, perfect. And then when we go to G sharp, we've got an augmented fifth or a minor 6. The A is called the major 6. Oops, that looks kind of big. Major 6. When we go to the A sharp, we have an augmented 6 or we've got a minor 7. When we hit our B, we are finding ourselves at the major 7. And then when we get all the way to our C again, that is called a perfect eighth or an octave. Those are all the notes. And when we play them on the ukulele, it tends to just go up in fashion. Now here's the real rub. When learning this, C is open, C sharp's here, D, D sharp, E. That's a quadrant. There are 3 of them. When we take our first finger and slide up our spidey exercises to the 5th fret, we then get our F note. F sharp, G, G sharp. Going all the way up, we would then have A sharp, B, and then we're back to our octave, that P8, C. Now, one has a lower intonation, one has a higher intonation. On an ukulele, you can do something you can't really do on a piano. You could play a perfect prime. That means sometimes when we play these 3 silly notes, 2 of those notes are the same in pitch. Like when we play a G major, which we'll get to, the G note and then the G note are the exact same timbre, pitch, resonating frequency. If you're in tune. Old strings. So, when we play a GBD, we have 2 of the same notes. Well, in the key of C major, gee golly whiz, this is tuned to the key of C6. Or we could call it an A minor 7. All chords have essentially 2 prime names. So when we look at here, I just said C6. This is how note names work. C, D, E, F, G, A. A minor is the relative minor of the key of C major, which means when we draw out the key signature of C major, let's just do the treble clef because that's what the ukulele's in. We're going to do our staff. We're going to draw 5 lines, and then from that 5th line, we are going to put a big old treble clef right here on our G line. Yeah? Since there are no sharps and flats in the key of C or A minor, that's what it looks like. No sharps and flats. If we were to go to the next key, it would be called G major. And we're going to do that one in just a minute. That has 1 sharp. But first I want to show you what I do every time I'm doing anything here. And if you draw this out, I guarantee you within a month, if you do it every day, you will understand music theory. You will understand your circle fifths. You will understand how to name chords and notes. What I just did there was play C. I went up 5 notes and then realized the next key does the same thing as C major. La 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 la. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. But it doesn't do it with that same tonal note. It doesn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It would go to G major, and then G would be 1. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Needing to include the F sharp in the key of G. The way I remember it is, there is an F over here which has 1 flat. This is called the circle fifths. This way is called the circle of fourths. So when we go 4 notes away, we continuously get the same keys over and over. The reason why these 3 I wrote like D flat, C sharp is because enharmonically we can have something that goes up and something that goes down. The aforementioned C, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C can also be said backwards. So you can say C, C flat. See where this is going? And then we would have a B flat. We have an A flat, G, G flat, F, F flat, E flat, D, D flat, and C. By doing this, we have gone up and down C major, but we did it chromatically, and rather than naming them the sharps, you betcha, we've named them by their sharp, their flat equivalent. So here, instead of having just the C sharp here, we would have a D flat. D sharp is also an E flat. E is an F flat. F is an E sharp, if you want. But that doesn't make sense to put on this side. Our F sharp is also a G flat, right? When we go here, our G sharp is also an A flat. Our A sharp is a B flat. And then lastly, our B could be a C flat. These are the notes and tones that we write out when we're trying to sight read, when we're in a key, and sometimes when we're part writing. It doesn't make sense to say things something twice. So when talking music, I only say one time. So C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, these are scales of chromatic nature. But when we're playing something like playing something like that, just randomly made up, I can go back and define that I was playing in C in a pattern that had an outward, inward pattern 2-note stroke. Pluck, 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 pluck. 1, 2, 3. And then I added an extra beat to be in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Moving between C sharp diminished 7 and G7 or B diminished to a C major. We played an F major, F minor, and up here we played like a C major 7, C dominant 7, or C7. So the context behind all that is, what was all that? Well, that's this. When we play a C major, we already have a C, E, G there, and we add that note. Our next note that we're gonna play here is the D. So when we write out our pattern of the D major, we would have A, D, F sharp, and then an open A. But here we don't want that. We want to have the A, which is right here. We're going to want to have the D, which is right here, and then we want the F, which is right there. So the only open note now out of all the open notes is the A. So when we play the D minor, we get really good at playing with our third finger or first. Here's where the explanation of the teeter-totters comes in. We're going to do the C major, and then we're going to do the D minor. Join me over here, won't you? So when going through the process of seeing the C major, the aforementioned downstrokes that we hear as being the beginning of our groove, let's just start these super slow. So I'm going to play only on the 1, because right now I'm playing 4 beats, right? Only on the 1. 1, rest, rest, rest. 1, rest, rest. The reason why I do this, rhythm seems to be a very, very hard thing. I had a heck of a time with rhythm when I was younger. I mean, my first bandmates would have said that I had horrible rhythm. And over the last 30 years, I've practiced at it. I now find that I can do multiple rhythms, polyrhythms, count them, and play drums. Had always wanted to play the drums, and guess what? Like anything else, you just start clocking hours, it starts working. So C major, we're going to be playing this chord, and the reason why I want to show this is after we do the strum, I want you to switch to another finger and play the same chord, and then switch. On the 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and pause. The 3 things I'm looking for are that when you're playing this, that you're playing with any of these fingers, but you're not moving the ukulele when you switch fingers. You're not like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... You're quite literally holding it right here on your belly or below your bosom, or kind of like in a pocket right here, if you will, and keeping that solid. I use a little bit of pulling, like holding right here and then pulling back so I make contact. Don't really even need the thumb in the middle. But the second thing is this. The thumb should be right in the middle of the fingerboard. You know what I mean? Right here on the back, you're going to want to put it right there, right in the middle, if you can see that. And don't move it. Because the idea is the amount of tension you need to play a bar chord, which is where you play all the notes, is the same amount of tension it takes to not drop the instrument. If you slightly let go of that and it starts slipping, that's about the amount of effort you need to put into these B-A-R-R-E bar chords. The reason why I'm showing how to play a C major like this, and 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 now how to play a D minor, first finger on the E string at the first fret to make an F note, second finger and third finger on the G string and then the C string to make the A and the D, and then the A is open, giving you D minor. The reason why we're doing the same thing with this chord, but now we have 3 fingers on and 1 off, is we're going to flip-flop our 1, 2, and 3 finger for our 2, 3, and 4 finger. Here's what it looks like. Rest, rest, rest. 1, rest, rest, rest. What we're doing is we're training the brain to put our fingers in order on the correct fingerings and strings and notes and frets. By moving our hand up and down in this nature, we are giving ourselves enough time to keep this rhythm. The idea is, if you could just shake your hand and keep that going and come back to the 1, that means that 1, you're wonderful at keeping rhythm, or you're practicing the practice of practicing rhythm. This is how we do it with a note called a whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It just so happens rather than them being long and attached like this note, very legato, we're doing the opposite. We're playing it as staccato. We play it, then we cut it off. Switch, rest, place, 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 switch, place, place, place. By doing this, you are going back and forth between 1 finger, 2 finger, and 3 finger, and then your middle finger, your ring finger, and then your pinky, otherwise known as the index, the medio, the anel, and the, what is it? Chiquito, chiquito, the little bitty pinky. Cool, so this is what we call a teeter-totter exercise. We're gonna go over here and look at these other different chords for the key of C major, which shall be named as such. We've got E minor. So here, let's draw out our diagram, put our strings, put our frettings in. When we have our frettings in, we then can take our whole idea of E minor and say, cool, what are our notes? G, C, E, A. All right, well, let's start with the first one, A. Which one of these notes is close to A? G, C, oh, what a wonderful marker this one is. Ah, E, A. Which one of these notes is close to A? Oh, it looks like G is. But G is that way. We go up by going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What note's close to A? Well, B. Cool. A sharp is a B flat. A sharp is a B flat. So the next note after A sharp and B flat is B. Boom. Get rid of that A. E. Now there is an E in here, but that's not quite how we play this chord on their ukulele. We do take away that E. We pass the E sharp, which is the F. E sharp is an F. We go to the F sharp, and then we have our G. You betcha, the minor third. And then we have C goes to C sharp, then to D, D sharp, E. That is a really fun chord to play, and then the G stays there. It's a great way to play that. There are alternate ways to play these chords, as with all chords. There are multiple ways to play these. However, this is the one we learn in the beginning because it allows us the function of seeing how the fingers beep, boop, boop, and layer. Our next one is going to be an F major. This is by far either the first or the second chord that you will learn from me. If we were to plot this out, we would have the F and the A, and as you can imagine, we have the C is open and the A is open. That's how we play an F major. When we go and we play the G major, it is probably one of my favorite chords because it feels like a little triangle. Also, these are great shapes for pattern recognition. We up top have the B, the G, and then we have a D. When we start going through chords like this, it's often awesome to remember that this G and this B happens to be the same G and B that's in the key of E. That means that these two chords are probably very closely related. Just like FA, FA is also in this. Which means if you were to just add this note here, wouldn't you change the F major to a D minor quite quickly? That's kind of what I'm going to show us. The next one that we do down here is called the A minor. A minor is in not only the key of C, but it's also in the key of F and in the key of G. We will eventually learn that the circle fifth, well, oh, I'm not going to lose that pen. Give me a second. Has something called the family of chords. So when we draw a box around these, we find ourselves having C, F, G as our majors. The next three are our minors, D, A, and F. E, D, A, and E. And then our last one's going to be our diminished. Good. So A, well, we got to move this over to our A. We have a C here. We have an E here. And we have an A here. Oh, well, look at that. Just like C major, C, E, and G just adds a C to get rid of the A, or else this would have been open if we played. It's a C6. C, E, and G plus an A, C6. Or if you view it through the eyes of A minor, well, you'd have A, C, and E, and then you'd have a G. That would be an A minor 7. So all 6 chords are minor 7s of the relative minor. Here's how you see it on the circle of fifths. C goes to A, C6, A minor 7, G6, E minor 7, D6, B minor 7. You can keep doing that because the fourth note is the relative minor. What does that mean? Again, no sharps and no flats. This key is the key of G, so G major has all the same sharps and flats that the key of E minor does, the 1 F sharp. These notes dictate, these are the 7 chords which have dyads that form major or minor. Well, each one of these, C to E, that's going to be a major third, minor third, minor third, major third, major third, minor third, minor third. Some of my students go, but Wago, why would you say minor here? I thought that was a diminished, because the 7th of every key in a major key is a diminished chord. The idea behind that is major chords have a dyad of a major third. Just like C to D is a major second, C to E is our major third. Well, when we go to the next one, D to F, yeah, it doesn't go D to F sharp. That would have been a major third. A minor third diminishes that F sharp by a half step, or a minor second, a semitone. When it drops down from the F sharp to an F, you get a D minor. But the idea is the D minor is only adding a major third on top of that, as F to A is a major third. So our construction of said chords is presented thusly. A major chord is a combination of a major third and then a minor third. A minor chord is a combination of a minor third and then a major third. A diminished chord is the combination of a minor third and a minor third. And then the one chord that's not even presented in a major function is called the augmented. So many players never get to experience the fourth stage. When we have this augmented, it's represented by a plus sign. I should put DIM here for diminish and AUG for here. Notice DIM is lowercase and A is capitalized. Well, if this is a minor third plus a minor third, and these are just combinations, our augmented is a major third plus a major third. Hence, when you're playing any chord like a C major, you could also make it a C minor. You could have a C augmented by just sharpening that 5th to a G sharp. So all these are pretty cool, and the last thing I want to leave you with is when you add that next minor third on the B, you get B, D, and F. Now, here's where the interesting thing happens for the ukulele that we like to deconstruct in the beginning. This should set you on your way to be able to understand what chords are, adding extra notes, which we call extensions, being able to play an extension, and then seeing that each one of these can be turned into like its most favorite. It's called a major 7 or a minor 7 function. We just call them 7 chords or major 7 chords. The function in cheat sheets would be that triangle, the minus sign, the circle, or the cross or the plus to represent the augmented. So one of the really cool things that we have going on right here is this. The last one that we have in here is called the diminished. This one is going to be right here. I'm just going to show it. It's called B diminished. And B diminished is only in the key of A minor and C major as being the lending or leading tone. It has an F, a B, and then it has a D and an A. Now, with this, what we are seeing is the stacking of thirds. When we hear it and play it, what I say is we don't repeat things twice, do we? Therefore, I wouldn't say C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, G7. Why would I say G twice? The idea is, yeah, this is a G7 or a G dominant 7, or it uses a G major with a minor 7, the F. However, you have to kind of know a little bit about key signatures and notes and names to actually get down to brass tacks. This is that brass tacks. The B diminished is called a B diminished because that tone wants to go T, do, and have a resolution from the to the, because it's pleasing. When we don't have that resolution in cadence, it doesn't feel right. If we have a song in the key of C that's like something like, I'm kind of going to the one chord, but I'm making it a sus. Which brings us to the second idea. Our extensions don't need to just stay within the first 5. If we play any of these chords, like the C major, and we did this, C major, and we add either the 2 or the 4, the 2 fingers that we've been missing the whole time, the D or the F in the key of C, if we play a C major and put a D in there, this is called a 2, or a C2, or a C sus2. When we play a minor, there is no such thing as a C minor sus2. It is called a 9 chord. You do not call things by 2s or 4s. Like F major, when you have a F major and then you add the 2, you would be adding the G. So if we put this note in, that's pretty pretty. That's the F sus2. But when we're playing something, let's say like a D minor, and we want to do a D minor sus2, there is no thing as a D minor sus2. It's called a D minor 9. What's the second note in the key of D? Well, we would have D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E. You keep going, right? So we would have this from here, and then we would add the E. That would be a D minor 9. Yay! So that's how we name chords when they go past the 8th note. C is the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There really is no 10, but yeah, it is the 10th interval. We just don't name anything like that because all E does in the key of C, it's either major or minor. This is our 11. There really is no 12 because that, again, is our dominant. That's our 5th. And then our A is our 13. So we have chords that are named a 9, 11, or 13. You will have a sharp 11, flat 11. You'll have a sharp. You have different sharps and flats on alls. You can augment or diminish any of these notes. Cool? The only ones that stay major or minor are going to be the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 7. And then when we go through the process of seeing what a C, E, G is, and then say this. If I already have a C, G, that's a triad. That makes a major chord, C, E, G, right there. When we don't utilize the C, but let's perhaps use the B, we name this chord C major 7. It is represented by putting a C, a big old triangle, and then a 7 right next to it. When we move that down another step, or we diminish this by a half tone, we are now registering that tonal frequency as a B flat. Well, a C major that does not use the major 7, but uses the minor 7, is thusly called a dominant chord. We have a C7. This C7 can also be referred to as a diminished chord, because in the key of F, F major, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C major, D minor, the relative minor, and then E diminished, F. If you notice when I did the litany of notes, F, G, A, B, C. This is what I'm going to leave you with today. Whenever you have a 5 chord in any key, if you change this note to this note by taking away one of the octaves that are perfect unions together, you then achieve the 7th of the chord. This should have demystified a little bit about how chord construction is, how to go through the process of naming notes, understanding that even though we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, the solfege, we actually have notes in between them. The only thing that is interesting, again, is that we do not have anything but a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That dictates that when we go from one note to another, there is a tone in betwixt those notes. Everywhere except for the 3 and the 7. Between 3 and 4, there is a natural half step. Between 7 to 8, or the resolution to the P8, we have a half step. That is how you make a major in any key. The concept is this. All of these items will be used to play just major chords. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C. Teeter-totters, when you learn how to play with 3 fingers and then 3 fingers, you can take anything that you've learned here, put it to here, and then move it anywhere on the fretboard and bar, B-A-R-R-E. Therefore, if you learn how to play a song, which would be something like, how about we do C major, C major 7, C dominant 7, to an F major. Let's try that again. C major. All down strokes can actually have down up strokes every once in a while. They're called eighth notes. Let's try it one more time. Let's try down up, eighth note, eighth note, eighth note, eighth. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. This time let's do it, but let's try and do it double the pace. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. Remember, my hand that's going up and down, I'm making it like butter, loosey-goosey here. Down, up, down. Lightly strumming on this. Maybe putting a little inflection on the 1, you know? So we do 1 E and a, we have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E. Now we're in the key of C, right? I would love to play the same thing, but go up to the key of F that I'm in. F major has an inversion which looks like this, and it's based off the D major, which moves up. So if you can play a D major with all of your fingers doing the teeter-totters, you of course can move that up to the 5th fret, bar it up, making sure to play it exactly like you play the D, leaving that space, hold down the C note, and you get FAC. If you bar the whole thing and then go out a minor third, a whole spider exercise, and then bar the whole thing, you get an F major. Now watch me now. C major, C sharp major, D major, D sharp major, E major, F major. So you can play the whole same progression that we just played. With an alternate set of fingers. So anything you learn in the key of C major can be played in every other key. This is how we modulate. What you experienced today is my beginner concept for any ukulele player. This generally, what you got, takes 4 weeks. If you've never played an instrument, it might take 8 weeks. However, if you've never played the ukulele or a stringed instrument before, all stringed instruments work this way. It does not matter what you're playing. You just learn different variations of how to play your fingers. The concept after you get your chords of a C major is you associate the C note. You associate the D note with the D. You get that E note for the E minor, F for the F major, G for the G major, for the A major, and B for the B diminished, and then resolution. You are able to play do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you know where the half steps are? Anybody play that game 1942? Anywho, Nintendo. I hope that this lesson helped us. If you like, you can put something in the comment section about one of the concepts we did. Chord construction, how to change our fingerings, how to practice with rhythms, and then on the board, how to tangibly diagram your own notes. The chords we talked about that were other Then just our basic triads in the key of C major were C major 7, using the B. Also C dominant 7, also known as an E diminished. If you take any of those chords, like the G major 7, G dominant 7. What's another major? F major 7, F dominant 7. There's multiple ways to play F major 7 and F dominant 7. So, the minor chords aren't called sus chords. They're called 9 chords. We don't have a minor chord that uses a sus. Only major chords like an F major or a D major sus 4. Since I was a young boy, I played that silver ball. I hope today you enjoyed this music lesson. If you have questions, put it down below. And see us for our next one. Next week, we're going to be demystifying the mandolin.